We are already a third of the way through the 2025 college football season, which means that we now know a good amount about who the best teams in the nation are. So today, me and my co-host Nick Corbs will be giving you our very own top 25 list. Nick, are you excited to talk some college ball?
I can't wait, Dom. We talk a lot about the NFL and a lot about the NFL draft, but I'm so excited to talk about our other passion, which is college football. Me and you have both been to games in America, both been to college stadiums. We love the sport, we're passionate about the sport, and we can't wait to share our top 25 with you.
And we're both wearing jerseys of teams we're going to talk about, so make sure you keep an eye out for that. And it is worth saying, though, for people that are new to college football, maybe you're an international fan that's new to the game, or someone that even knows college football anyway, it's worth mentioning that these aren't power rankings. This is very much a reflection of where these teams are at now, mostly based on record and who they've played. There is a lot of subjectivity with these lists. Even the AP poll one that uses media people from all over the United States, that still gets flamed regularly by various fans that don't quite make it. There is a lot of subjectivity to these lists. There's hundreds of college football teams. There's only 25 spots on the AP poll, and it is down to how you view the wins and how you view those teams. Before we get into our lists, make sure you subscribe for more NFL draft, more college football content. We do it all on this channel. Make sure you leave a like. Make sure you comment who you think are your top 25 teams, to agree or disagree with my list. And last but definitely not least, make sure you subscribe. Those 3 ways are free and easy ways to help out the channel and push this video out to more people that want to consume this content. The first thing we're going to see on the screen now is the current top 25 AP poll for reference. This is the official one, and it has, going from 1 to 25, Ohio State at 1, Penn State 2, LSU 3, Miami 4, Georgia 5, Oregon 6, Florida State 7, Texas 8, Illinois 9, Texas A&M 10, Oklahoma 11, Iowa State 12, Ole Miss 13, Alabama 14, Tennessee 15, Utah 16, Texas Tech 17, Georgia Tech 18, 19 is Indiana, Vanderbilt at 20, Michigan at 21, Auburn 22, Missouri 23, Notre Dame 24, and USC at 25. We're going to reveal ours 5 groupings at a time. But before we reveal who are in our rankings, I want to start by asking you a question, Lou. Do you have Notre Dame or Clemson ranked?
I have neither of those teams ranked.
Yes,
and I personally think it is an absolute abomination that Notre Dame is ranked 24 in the current AP poll. They haven't won a game. There's no reason why they should be ranked. Of course, it's against good teams, ranked teams, but still, I am completely against their ranking.
It's criminal, I think. It's absolutely criminal. You'll see, again, if you are new to college football, and if you are not, you will well know that there is maybe an agenda or a talking point, let's say, sure, about kind of like big team bias, right? Like any other 0-2 team is not sniffing the top 25. But because Notre Dame is Notre Dame, they're still in there. They are fighting for their lives right now. In college football, there is such a thing as a quote-unquote good loss, right? We'll talk about good losses as we kind of go down our rankings, definitely, because one happened just this weekend. But good losses only matter when you are separating 2 teams with the same record. If you're separating 2 10-2 teams, then the good losses, sure, come into play. Absolutely. If you have a loss to Ohio State and Oregon, then brilliant. Okay, fine. Then you might still be one of the better teams. But right now, when you have a big fat donut in the win column, it doesn't matter how good or bad the losses are. You just have losses. So I think it's absolutely ridiculous. Basically, what's happening now is that Notre Dame cannot lose another game. Their destiny is not in their hands. They're basically playing on 1 HP. They're one hit. They cannot afford to lose another game. They really can't afford to look bad in another game, frankly. And what they also need is this weird catch-22 where they are not playing another ranked team on their schedule, but they kind of need Arkansas and USC. Well, USC is ranked, sorry. So they need those to play. They need those teams to either stay ranked or become ranked, Arkansas and USC specifically, but also need to play them close enough so that if they beat them really handily, USC and Arkansas don't become ranked, because that will make their wins look worse. It's just a really confusing system whereby Notre Dame are kind of damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Dom, they're the first team to be winless through 3 weeks since Michigan in 1988 to be ranked. I think it's complete agenda, and rightfully, me and you, as people who should be part of the AP poll, both agree, have not put them on the top 25.
And then Clemson, quickly, before we get into the top 25, they have looked absolutely horrible relative to expectation. I will say they were my number one ranked team going into the season. Cade Klubnik was my QB1. Peter Woods was my DT1. TJ Parker was my edge 1. Nobody looks the part. That entire team is all over the shop. Ugly loss versus Georgia Tech, which we'll definitely be getting into. And they never really have looked in command at any point. They lost to LSU week 1. They had a rocky start against Troy as their one win. They look like a team that bought their own hype, I would say.
Yeah, it's difficult because unfortunately I also placed my draft reputation on Clemson, saying they were a lock, saying Cade Klubnik, I believe my quote was, could do nothing to lower his stock. God, it's not. It's only been 3 weeks and that's aged poorly. I don't know what's happened to this Clemson team. There was a whole NIL thing with Dabo Sweeney a couple of years back, and I just don't think they've caught up with the modern day college football. I don't think their season is completely over yet. The ACC is not that strong outside a few teams, and their schedule will do them some favors. But yeah, for me, they're not ranked either.
Right, those two teams are really ugly. So let's then move on to greener pastures. And in groups of 5, pun very much intended, let's go over our top 25. So, Nu, give me your 25 to 21.
So at 25, I've got the University of North Texas. 24, USC. 23, Cal. 22, Auburn. 21, Michigan. And 20, Indiana.
Michigan? That is grim, Nu. That is grim. You can't say with your chest that it's outrageous that Clemson aren't ranked and Michigan have the same damn record.
2-1.
A Michigan 2-1, not 1-2.
No, 2-1. They won last week.
Oh, they did win last week. Sorry, you're absolutely okay. Let's talk about Michigan then, because I don't have Michigan
against Central Michigan, but
I don't have Michigan ranked personally. I don't think that I love Bryce Underwood as a quarterback. I think that he is really exciting, but I think that this year has shown, even with a quarterback as talented as Bryce Underwood, who, yes, is a freshman and still needs some work, there's more problems with this Michigan team than just the quarterback position. And I think that that's why they're not in my top 25.
The only loss this year was to the Sooners in a good game with John Mateer, and I ranked the Sooners very high this year, Oklahoma. I think Big Ten team, big team, with only one loss to a very good school. 22 is right where I have them. But I want to quickly talk about University of North Texas.
Yeah,
UNT,
that's bonkers.
25.
What's going on there?
It's my only group of 5 team. I must admit, I just wanted a group of 5 team in my rankings. And they just got a big win over Washington State, over a Power 5 school. And they looked very convincing doing it. So maybe this is... They genuinely have an outside playoff shot as a group of 5 team.
Yeah.
So the University of North Texas is a team to keep an eye on.
Surprised you don't have USF there, though, if they're considering their record.
I know, USF would probably be a better pick with 2 ranked wins, but I thought I'd mix it up for my number 25.
I kind of wanted to put USF in there, I'm not going to lie, but they are just not in mine, I must admit. I have at 25 Cal, so we'll talk about Cal. I have TCU at 24. At 23, I've got USC. At 22, I've got Utah. And at 21, I've got Auburn. So there's quite a lot of similarity in our 2 lists there. Let's start then with my 25th team. Your...
did you have a 25 again, sorry?
Cal.
USC. Cal, yeah, I had them at 23.
Brilliant. So my 25th, your 23rd. Cal currently don't have a single AP poll vote by my research. Justice for Cal, man. They are 3-0, so they're undefeated. And they are somehow not ranked ahead of 0-2 Notre Dame. That's what we're talking about. It's absolutely disgraceful. They're not just a run-of-the-mill 3-0 team. There's quite a lot of 3-0 teams currently in college football because of, well, the schedule and because of how many teams there are. But what Cal have that other teams don't is Jaron Keave Sangapolu Tele.
Good pronunciation.
Yeah, nailed the pronunciation. I watched a whole video on how to pronounce this guy's name. They're breaking it down on the whiteboard like it was a run play or something. But it was really helpful, and it's important to get people's names right. And he is legit, man. He looks the real deal. He's got a live arm. He's a true freshman. He's kind of put Cal back on the map in terms of their competitiveness. And there's no real test on their schedule, unfortunately, so it can be quite hard for them to get in. I think you do need to have also like kind of marquee wins. It's not just about being undefeated. It's about having good wins there. Duke might be their biggest win if they go undefeated. Would that be enough? I don't know, but I think Cal are an exciting team, and that's why they're my 25th.
I love a true freshman QB starting, and the Cal quarterback, who I'm gonna hand over his name to you again, just so I don't mess it up.
Jaron Keave Sangapolutele.
Thank you. Is the best true freshman quarterback in the nation. He looks absolutely amazing. And I agree. The fact that they don't have a single AP vote is very shocking to me, actually. But me and you, big on Cal this year.
Big on Cal. Who was your 24?
I had USC, big win over Purdue. I think that's a very good win, actually.
Yeah, I agree. They're 3-0. They haven't had a huge win on their resume, which is why they're a bit low. Missouri State, Georgia Southern, and Purdue. But I like how that offense is looking. They have the most offensive points in the nation through 3 weeks, 55 points per game. Jacoby Lane, Mekhi Lemon, my current wide receiver 1 on my draft board, and Wayman Jordan at running back. I think there's a lot of reasons to be excited about Trojan football this year. Who did you have at 22-21?
So I had Indiana at 20 and Auburn at 22. I think Auburn, classic SEC school, undefeated, good week 1 win over Baylor. Baylor looked like a good team this year. And Indiana, again, very good last year. Mendoza looks like a potential first, second round quarterback. But again, they haven't played anyone at all on their record. In the next coming weeks, though, the Big Ten will churn themselves out. They've got a really tough schedule coming up, so it'll be interesting to see what happens to this Big Ten teams in a couple weeks' time.
Yeah, Auburn need to have a marquee win on their schedule, I think, from their schedule. And I think they've got to be careful what they wish for, because you're talking about how difficult their schedule is. They've got Oklahoma, Texas A&M, Georgia, and Missouri. Their next 4 games. All 4 of those teams are ranked. So you've got to come out of that at least 3-1, really, I think, considering how strong some of the teams are looking this year. I don't think they're going to survive. Obviously, we'll see. I've got Utah at 22. But leading on then to my 20 through to 16, I've got to try and do the maths here. I have Indiana at 20, which leads us quite nicely on from Indiana. 19, I've got Vanderbilt, big up the Commodores. 18, I've got the mighty Georgia Tech. Let's go, baby. At 17, I got Texas Tech, and at 16, I've got Ole Miss. Give me your 20 through to 16.
So 20, I have Indiana as well. 19, I have Texas Tech. 18, I have Utah. 17, I have Vandy, and 16, I have Alabama.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll definitely save the Bama chat. Is Georgia Tech ranked more highly for you?
You'll find out.
Okay.
I want to quickly highlight Utah and Texas Tech, who are playing each other this weekend. Big game. I think they've both got really exciting, high-powered offenses. Utah especially has come out swinging ever since they moved on from that 40-year-old Cam Rising. They've really rejuvenated their team. I think that is the big one-to-watch game next week, and I can't wait to see it on Saturday night.
Yeah, that's a big matchup. I'm definitely lower on Utah, as I said. They're a 22nd for me. They are 3-0, and they're clearly strong, but I'm just not really that sold on them. At the moment, UCLA is their signature win, and UCLA just lost to New Mexico State by 3 scores. And they're, an absolute tailspin of a school right now. And the other 2 opponents they played are Cal Poly and Wyoming. So, yeah. I mean, they were handed wins, but they were definitely against weaker competition. And yeah, Texas Tech this weekend is absolutely massive. I favour Texas Tech in that matchup for what it's worth. I think that they're the favourites to win the Big 12 for me. They are a defensive line that has been one of the most dominant in the country. They spent a lot of money to get that, but it has paid off. And the results are clear to see that. I think they're a top 3 defensive line. I think they haven't played very hard competition yet, don't get me wrong, but they've blown them out of the water. They've got the second most offensive points per game through 4 weeks, 53.5 points. Huge game against Utah this week. I think they'll come away with the win. But let's talk about the Vanderbilt Commodores, because if you've watched the SEC Any Given Saturday documentary on Netflix, which I suggest you do, if you're new to college football, watch it. It's a great way to kind of get a feel for the sport. Vanderbilt have been described as, in recent years, as the doormat of the SEC, which is one of the stronger conferences in college football. Doesn't seem to be the case this year.
They have one of the best records this year and last year with a statement win over Alabama. Piver, the quarterback, transferred from New Mexico State, I believe, has been absolutely balling out. It is not ridiculous to say he's a top 10 quarterback in college football with the way he's playing. He's carrying this team, this underdog in the toughest conference in the sport, to consistently being ranked almost. It is so impressive for such a small school in such a big conference to be punching above their weight and beating South Carolina, who were ranked 11th before, so handily. I understand that Lenora Sellers went down in the first half, I believe, just before half. But they looked the better team while he was playing, and he could be the number 1 overall pick this year. I truly believe that Vanderbilt has an unbelievable schedule. And yes, in the SEC, and they're going to face consistently difficult matchups. But so far, so good. And I think 17 still even might be a bit low for them.
Yeah, I've got them at 19, and I kind of feel like I'm underselling them a bit here, because I agree with you that they had a dominant win over South Carolina. And yes, you're right, Lenora Sellers was out with an injury, but again, I kind of agree with what you were suggesting there, that they looked dominant in that game. Well, not dominant, but they looked like they were going to win that game, I think, before he went down anyway. And Diego Pavia is a smaller, scrappier Baker Mayfield with his personality and his play style. He is going to throw, he's the type of quarterback that has thrown a screen to his running back and has immediately ran out of the pocket and tried to lay a hit on a linebacker that was trying to tackle his running back. Like, he's that guy. He's an absolute nutter at the quarterback position. He has just brought some dog mentality, genuinely dog mentality. I think Clark Lee has done a brilliant job. Will they be ranked by the end of the season? The SEC is so strong. I doubt it. But for now, they're here and they deserve to be here. I've got Georgia Tech. We'll talk about Georgia Tech later, where you have them high. We've spoken about Texas Tech. Let's then move on. Is there anyone else you want to talk about in that group that you just had?
Briefly, just want to talk about Alabama quickly.
No. We're talking about Alabama when we get to Alabama. When I get to Alabama. We're going to go by the latest person's ranking. So, Mark, give me your 16 through to 11.
15 through to 11. Because at 15, I have Tennessee. 14, I have Texas. 13, Ole Miss. 12, Georgia Tech. And 11, Iowa State.
Okay, good. We got a lot of crossover here. Let's then start with Georgia Tech. I have them at 18. You have them at 15?
12.
12. Oh my God, you're high on the rambling wreck from Georgia Tech. Well, let me set you up for this then. You tell me why you're higher on them than I am once I've finished raving about my mighty Yellow Jackets. Because you're looking at this is the old school. They don't do this kit anymore. This kit what are they jersey?
It's Calvin
anymore?
Johnson, isn't it? That's a Megatron Georgia Tech kit.
Unfortunately, it's a 0, so it's not. But they are unbelievably goated, this team, man. They're my team. I saw them when they upset UNC at Bobby Dodd. I stormed the field. There's a picture of me behind here at the stadium. Absolutely unbelievable stuff. I absolutely love this team. And it was a huge win that we had over Clemson. And I felt like we were in the driving seat for that entire game, really. I thought that, yes, we let Clemson back into it with the 3rd and 22 conversion from the running back, which I literally want to throw my phone against the wall when I saw that. That's basically a turnover on downs, the equivalent of they scored after they converted that 3rd and 22. And then when we had the interception of Cade Klubnik in the end zone, we didn't return it for a pick 6 when it should have been returned. The blocking on that play drove me mental. But the point is that Clemson only felt like they could win that game because Georgia Tech let them back in it. I think the scoreline shouldn't have been as close as it was. As I said, I think we let them back in it. And we are now 3-0. We've beaten Colorado, Gardner-Webb, and Clemson. That's one easy one in Gardner-Webb. One fine one. I don't think Colorado are a good team, don't get me wrong, but they are better than some random school, Arkansas Pine Bluff, for example. And then one great win. I think Clemson, despite not being ranked, are a very talented team that simply can't really get their act together. We deserve to be ranked. I'm glad that we are by both of us and by the AP poll. And I said in a podcast that I do called College Days, if you haven't, go watch it. Plug. I said they could be the dark horses of the ACC, and they were 200 to 1. Why did I not put money on that, man? That's printing money. You talk to me about Georgia Tech.
It's an absolute layup. They are in the driver's seat for the ACC now and for the playoffs. They control their own destiny until the ACC championship game. And based on recent form from last year, even if they lose that, they still might get in. Haynes King is another one of these COVID super seniors who I still don't know how to feel about, because I went to uni, graduated uni, and he's still playing. And I don't know why it annoys me so much. But they are in the driver's seat for their own destiny, and I think 12 is where they could be, and I could see them maybe even finishing here by the end of the season. So I'm high on Georgia Tech, and Dom, you should have taken that bet. Easy money.
Easy money, man. And also what's crazy is that we might be 11-0. We might be undefeated. Our schedule's pretty easy until we get to Georgia. And that is a huge game. That is a huge game. I think if we do lose that to Georgia, we're 11-1, and then we also lose in the ACC championship game. Oh no, SMU lost in the championship game last year. One of the ACC teams lost in the championship game and then still made the playoffs. So hopefully that doesn't go against us. Do you have Ole Miss in this next 5?
I do. I'm at 13.
Okay, let's talk about Ole Miss, because they're my 16th ranked team, and I do want to talk about them. I'm not hugely moved by the Rebels, this Ole Miss team. I think Lane Kiffin, the head coach, is the MVP of this team with his offensive system. But Trinidad Chambliss, maybe there's a bit of French there, Trinidad Chambly, I don't really know how he's... Chambly. He looked great versus Arkansas. Better than Austin Simmons, dare I say. That's kind of the spark that this team needed. They needed someone other than Lane Kiffin to step up and make this team a competitive one. And the offense always looks good. It's always going to with Lane Kiffin and his offensive system. There's a lot of question marks over the defense. And they've lost so much talent in the NFL draft last year. They lost, cornerbacks. They lost defensive linemen. They lost their quarterback, obviously, in Jackson Dart. So if Lane Kiffin's bold and decides to go with Trinidad Chambliss and bench the starter, Austin Simmons, maybe that's the spark plug they need to maybe be a bit higher.
Trinidad Chambliss, by the way, what a name.
Yeah, that's a quarterback name, man.
I believe he transferred from Incarnate Word or some other FCS school. I'm not too sure. But he balled out, I want to say. But I think that win against Arkansas is a really good win. That was a really close game, and Arkansas were a scrappy team. I think 13 is where they should be. I think they lost so much talent, losing receivers, losing Jackson Dart especially. But with Lane Kiffin at the helm, you're always going to have a high-powered offense, and you're always going to be an SEC title contention. So for me, 13 is a good place for them.
Well, I got Ole Miss at 16. I got Missouri at 15. I got Bama at 14. I got Texas at 13. I got Tennessee at 12. Is that my maths is going out the window here?
You could go to 11, Dom.
Yeah, Jesus Christ. And at 11, I've got Illinois. So you also had Texas in this. You also had Bama in this, and you also had Tennessee in this, right?
So Dom, the biggest difference between our two lists is that I don't even have Missouri in my top 25.
No.
Explain to me why I should have Missouri in my top 25.
You don't have Missouri in the top 25? Well, okay, I'll explain why you don't have Missouri in the top 25, and then we can talk about those big teams. Bo Prabula looks legit. He was the outcast at Penn State when Drew Aller was maybe going to declare for the NFL draft. He was going to be the starter, and then when Drew Aller came back, he was like, right, sod this. I'm out. I'm going to transfer. Went to Missouri, and he has not just kind of carried the mantle of a strong offense at Missouri, but has upgraded it. Missouri last year under Brady Cook, he had a bit of an injury. The offense took a step back. 2023, though, this offense was firing. I would say that this offense right now more closely resembles the offense in 2023 than last year. He had a great showing over the first few weeks, Bo Prabula. He has always been great as a rushing threat. We knew that from his time at Penn State, even when Drew Aller was there and he was getting some reps. He's a legit rushing threat. But he has, as a passer, either developed or broken out. Well, I don't really know the correct word to use because we didn't see him that much at Penn State because he was a backup. But he has been a fantastic find for this team. A huge upgrade from Brady Cook, the quarterback last year. They're the 5th highest scoring offense in the nation. They can put up points. That offense, in my opinion, is dangerous. It is humming. You do not want to be playing Missouri anytime soon.
That's a pretty strong argument. I just don't think they've got any quality wins yet, and I think the teams above them have more quality wins. I think he's yet to be tested against some serious SEC opponents.
That's true, and there is a quarterback over Prabula against those higher ranked opponents. So I've got Alabama at 14. Remember where you had them?
16.
Okay, so let's talk about Bama then. Talk to me about the loss against FSU.
I think the Nick Saban hangover was always going to happen, and I think the detractors against DeBoer are being overly harsh. When they were jogging on the field, people were like, Saban would never allow this. What has the great Alabama come to?
I don't know, man. I kind of
believe that. I don't know if I believe that at all. I think it's impossible to keep up that constantly being ranked 1 or 2 in the nation every single year. And that loss against FSU, Tommy Castellanos looks like a good player. FSU look like a good team, but I don't think they're college football winner potential. So I think that's not a great loss. And I think 16 is fair for the Crimson Tide.
Yeah, I've got them at 14. We see them very similarly. I think they are better than we thought they were immediately after the FSU loss, but not that much better, right? I think that loss has kind of mellowed over time. I think FSU are clearly a good team. We presumably will have them both ranked higher than Alabama, but not good enough for us to feel particularly confident about their outlook this season. Ty Simpson, the quarterback, has looked really good since the FSU game, and he's going to need to because they've got a murderer's row of games coming up, and they cannot afford to drop really any of them, considering they've already lost to FSU. They've got Georgia, Vanderbilt, Missouri, Tennessee, South Carolina, LSU. Eastern Illinois is their one breathing game, and then they finish the season with Auburn. So that is a really tricky schedule, and frankly, I think the comparisons to Nick Saban's Alabama are actually very apt. I do think that you say it's hard to have a team being consistently ranked 1 or 2. I agree, it is. Nick Saban had that. He was that good. He was the GOAT of coaching in college football, and the defense looked ill-disciplined. The offense looked poorly coached. I think that it was a really ugly showing, and Alabama ended last season pretty ugly as well. They didn't make the playoffs, and rightly so. And I think they're probably not going to make the playoffs again this year, despite how that team's looking. I just don't think that this is Saban's Bama. And as a result, I just kind of think they're going to be on the outside looking in, be that kind of, be ranked around here when it's all said and done, kind of in that 13, 14 spot, just on the brink of the playoffs. Though, Texas and Tennessee, I have them at 13 and 12. Remind me where you had them.
Tennessee 15, Texas 14.
Okay, so let's start with Texas. Talk to me about Texas.
Texas don't look good, and Arch Manning, who I'm going to talk about later when we're doing our prospects up and down, as just a sneak preview, doesn't look good either. This was the preseason favourite to win the national championship. I think people were saying they're a lock even for the semi-finals, and they just can't get that offense going. Arch remind me who they played last week. So I just slipped my mind. Was UTEP? So I was thinking about Louisiana Tech. UTEP. They really struggled until halftime. They eventually pulled away. But a team like that at home, you should be looking to put up 50 points, 60 points, like all the teams above them have been doing. Against bad competition, they've been playing down to the level. And against good competition, against Ohio State, they got blown out the water. Now that I'm saying it out loud, I think that Tennessee should be ranked above them. So I'm going to retroactively switch those two. But Don, what do you think about the Longhorns?
I do not love the Longhorns. They are absolutely brimming with NFL talent. They've sent, I don't have the numbers in front of me, but off the top of my head, it was 14 and 16 players to the NFL draft in the last 2 years. They are an NFL talent factory. But the reason why they're this low is because of the question mark over their quarterback. And we will talk about Arch Manning in the draft stock update later in this video. But they were getting booed off the field at halftime versus UTEP. They were not putting away it's unfair on UTEP, I know, but the terrible teams in UTEP. They are a very talented team on paper, a bit almost like, let's say, a Clemson. With one loss versus Ohio State, fine, I think Ohio State are a very good team. But I don't think anyone feels particularly confident in this team right now. And I feel like not burying bad teams and losing to good ones is not really enough to be ranked any higher than where I have them. And I'm kind of with you, New. I kind of feel like, I'm glad you switched Tennessee and Texas, because I do think that Tennessee should be ranked higher than Texas. But I'm also with you in the sense that, maybe I've put this Texas team too high. Thing is that, because there is this subjectivity, because there is a lot of talent on that Texas team, you kind of want them to be higher. They've got to put it together eventually, surely. But I think I'm fast running out of patience with Texas. And if I don't see not just wins, but good, big, marquee wins, I am not going to be able to put them any higher than this kind of at any point, dare I say.
For sure. Should we talk about Tennessee quickly?
Definitely. Go ahead.
So Tennessee what a great game. I want to say quickly. Tennessee, Georgia, also amazing kick clash for those who are interested.
Oh,
absolutely love the burnt orange versus the red.
Burnt orange is Texas.
Oh, fine, but you know what I'm talking about.
The volunteer yellow, isn't it? Is it yellow or is it orange?
It's orange. Tennessee fumbled that game. Tennessee should have won that game. They let Georgia back in. I think Georgia, with the experience they have with Kirby Smart at the helm, was able to take advantage of that. But Tennessee should have won that game. And like you said, Dom, good losses, if you want to say, are so important. Because if they're one field goal away, one first down away, they'll be ranked in the top 5. So that's why they're only at 14 now, so I've retroactively changed them. Dom, what do you think about the Volunteers?
I think they have the best loss this season so far. It hurt as a neutral. I wanted Tennessee to win that game. And I'm sure it hurt Tennessee fans and players, as obviously fans and players. But I think putting 41 points up against the Bulldogs, Kirby Smart on that defense, is a humongous achievement. I think Joey Aguilar has brought this program back from the brink. Is unfair because it never was that, but it felt like it when Nico Iamaleava moved away and went to UCLA. Now, I think, Tennessee are not going to be keeping that receipt anytime soon. They've definitely won from that experience. And dare I say, Joe Aguilar has kind of been an upgrade, actually, at quarterback, if anything. The defense needs some work. The secondary is pretty leaky. If they get back German McCoy, who is many people's CB1, even with an injury in this year's NFL draft, that could be a massive spin for their playoff hopes. But I do think Tennessee are quite comfortable at the moment, a playoff team. I think that there's quite a big tier gap from Tennessee and Texas here at 12 and 13 for me. I think that from here onwards, these are all teams that I do feel confident in. And I think that the fact that the only reason why they're not being able to be ranked higher shouldn't really be held against them, which is the fact that some poor kicker had to go out in front of 90,000 people. It looked like he was about to invade the beaches at Normandy. Under his helmet, he was that nervous. And you know what? Fair play. I think I would absolutely be breaking it. do not put me on, coach. My knee hurts. Like, I'm not going on it. So fair play to home team going out there, but it's unfair, I think, to hold that loss against Tennessee too much when one wayward kick going through the uprights kind of completely changes literally changes the outcome of that game. Tennessee would win it. So I'm not holding that loss against Tennessee too much. I think they're a very good team. And who did you have at 11?
I had Iowa State.
Let's talk. Well, hang on. Let's hold off on Iowa State. I've got Illinois. Illinois in your top.
Illinois I have at number 10. So Dom, do you want to talk about Illinois quickly?
Yeah, let's talk about Illinois quickly. They're my 11. They're News 10. They're 3-0. They crushed Duke on the road. That's a nice win. I think Luke Altmaier looks good enough. He's not really had to do that much yet through 3 weeks. Xavier Scott, the cornerback, he's a name to look out for in the NFL draft. He is a potential, I say a sleeper. He's one of those guys that will emerge as soon as the season's over, but really, if you've been watching, he's been legit the entire time. He is a Devon Witherspoon clone. Yes, I know that's same school scouting, but trust me, they literally play the game the exact same way. It's actually incredible. They're playing Indiana this week. I think that could be the end of Illinois' run. Frankly, I think Indiana are probably a better team, but again, the reason why Illinois are ranked ahead is because it's not a power ranking. It's not about a projection. It's about where these teams are at right now, and I do think that Illinois have a strong kind of claim to be at where they are. And they've also got Ohio State coming up as well. So I think this is going to be the highest we're going to see Illinois, both on our lists and the AP poll, but they deserve to be here.
Yeah, I think that team looks really good, especially defensively. In a tough Big Ten, though, I'm not sure if they're going to keep it up.
So give me your whole 10 through 6.
Okay, 10 through 6. I've got Illinois, Texas A&M, Florida State, Oklahoma, and Oregon.
Oh, Oregon. Okay, my 10 through 6. I got Texas A&M at 10, Iowa State at 9, Oklahoma at 8, Florida State at 7, and Georgia at 6. So let's then quickly touch on Iowa State before we move on to the slightly bigger teams. I saw Iowa State in Dublin, and they have a legit defense. Dominique Orange, I should say, is another player to look out for in the NFL draft. Big interior defensive lineman, and he's got maybe the best nickname in the draft. Have you heard about Dominique Orange? I don't know why I gave him a French. I've not heard about Dominique Orange. I don't know why I gave him a French spin.
Yeah, why is he getting more and more like exotic the name every time you pronounce
it? It is Dominique with a Q-U-E, so it is Dominique. But it's Orange. Well, anyway, sorry, Mr. Orange, for listening. His nickname is Big Citrus, which I think is a fantastic nickname. They are the only 4-0 team in the nation, so it seems fair to put them higher up. They deserve to be. They have an in-conference win against Kansas State, which is aging worse and worse with every single week that passes. They look like a terrible team. And they're not really playing another ranked team. So they kind of need to be undefeated, I think, Iowa State here. They're playing BYU, they're playing TCU, and they're playing Arizona State. Those aren't easy outs. They're winnable games, but they aren't easy outs. So will Iowa State be ranked this highly at the end? I don't know. But what do you think, Nick?
I think, I just want to say quickly, Farmageddon. But an absolutely great name for a rivalry against Kansas State.
Yeah, it's
like you said, that they're the only 4-0 team, and yes, it's a tough road in, but only one or two of those teams are ranked. I think Arizona State will end the year ranked. They're not in either of our top 25s. But I think Iowa State's a good one to look out for, and I'll be especially keeping a keen eye on Big Citrus for the weeks to come.
Big Citrus in the middle. Let's go through my list and compare it to yours. So I know you've got Texas A&M. Let's talk about them. They're my 10. They're your
9.
They had so we've seen them very similarly then. They had a huge win over Notre Dame. They're an explosive passing attack now, and I think that complements the run game which they've had, going back to last year. They have Casey Concepcion, Mario Craver as well. He's had in the last 3 games 422 receiving yards. He had 122 yards in the first game, 114 yards in the second game, and 207 yards last weekend. He was averaging in that game around 207 yards, almost 30 yards per reception. They can run the football. We've known that about Texas A&M for a while now. It's been the passing attack that's always been the question mark. And now is their not so secret to their success, I think. The only problem is with A&M, they've got a brutal schedule. They've got Auburn this coming up. They got Mississippi State, Florida, Arkansas, LSU, who are ranked, Missouri, who are ranked, South Carolina, Samford, and they end the season with Texas, which is a massive grudge match, obviously, in the state of Texas. They're a playoff team, I think, can afford to have 2 good losses from those games, but it's not a done deal that they're going to be a playoff team yet, although I hope they will be.
It's nice to see the Aggies back as a college football powerhouse. Under Jimbo Fisher for 3-4 years. Do you remember that one recruitment cycle where they had like 7 or 8 5-stars?
Yeah.
All recruits to A&M, and people thought this was when NIL first became a thing. People thought Texas A&M were going to take over college football. They had a really disappointing 4 years. So to see them back, beating Notre Dame, back in our top 10, is so good for the sport.
Yeah, and they had a huge win over Notre Dame, which is part of the reason why I think we can rank them so highly, because Notre Dame are not ranked, but that was a big win for them. They're not ranked now; they were when they beat them. There's a little bit of interesting thing going on there.
For sure.
I've got Oklahoma at 8, and I love Oklahoma. Boomer Sooner, baby. Not just because it is Baker Mayfield's alma mater, but because it is John Mateer's current school. My QB1, I'll talk about that a bit later. No, he's the Heisman frontrunner in my eyes right now. Brent Venables is a defensive-minded head coach, and he always has that defense looking good. It was the offense that really needed to step up and show something this year. And they're doing exactly that. They brought in John Mateer as a transfer from Washington State, and he has really put some much-needed life into this team, specifically the offense. They had a win over Michigan. Not the Michigan of old, don't get me wrong, but when we're at this stage in the season where we're kind of every team is kind of playing their cupcakes, they're the teams that are not ranked or are lesser. A win against Michigan is one of the stronger wins we have kind of to go off, and they're 3-0 looking strong. Talk to me about Florida State.
Tommy Castellanos, I think, is a bit of a Heisman sleeper. He's got a few. His aura basically beat Alabama. I really like this Florida State team.
Beat Alabama.
Again, like I said in the ACC when we were talking about Georgia Tech, it's a weaker division. They really control their own destiny. I know they play Florida and they'll play in the ACC championship game, but outside of that, all their games are very winnable. The Alabama win is also a big statement win that will definitely age very well when it comes to the CFB committee later in the season. I think 7 is a very strong place for them at the moment.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. They're only 2-0, but they have one of the top 3 strongest wins so far, if not one of the top 2. Like, Bama are definitely way better than we thought. They are both ranked for us. They're ranked in the AP poll as well. No Nick Saban to save them, which is the Castellanos tagline. That's what he said in the lead up to that game, and he was kind of getting memed for it, but he's absolutely right. FSU are a good team, it seems, this year. They dispatched East Texas A&M 77-3. That's what you got to do against a competition like that. They got a nice schedule. They do have to beat Miami, and they can kind of afford to lose to them with the record that they've got so far with that win against Bama. I think Florida State are a pretty good team. Again, I think this is, for me, where after 7, I've got Georgia at 6. We'll talk about Georgia in a second. Then I've got Georgia at 6, but from 6 to 7, there's that next tier for me, I would say. So we have Tennessee up to Florida State. That's one tier. Now from 6 onwards, we've got the teams that I feel really, really strongly about. But without further ado, then let's hear the top 5 for you, New.
So at 5, I've got Penn State. 4, I've got Georgia. 3, I have Miami. 2, LSU, and 1, Ohio State.
Wow. Okay. So again, to recap, Georgia's not in my top 5, but Georgia is 6 for me, and we will talk about Georgia because I think they are a damn good team. But my 5 through 1, 5, I've got LSU. 4, I've got Oregon. 3, Penn State. 2, Miami. 1, Ohio State. Let's first talk about Georgia, then to LSU. What do you think about Georgia?
Georgia's big win over Tennessee as a massive statement win over a college football contender. Again, Kirby Smart is the best coach currently in college football. He is the new Nick Saban, and Georgia are always going to be a powerhouse. I think to have them outside the top 5 is almost sacrilege, Dom. Why do you have them so low?
I'm looking at the top 5 and I am like, well, I'd maybe put LSU low, but I'm going to stick to my guns now with Georgia. But I mean, I think that the reason why they're so low for me, at least, is because I've had some concerns, and yes, they've been answered, but in kind of doing so, the scales have tipped the other way. I think that throughout the whole offseason, because of what happened with Carson Beck last year, the question, and how Gunnar Stockton looked in limited time last year as well in his replacement, I was always concerned about the offense. And now Gunnar Stockton versus Tennessee looks really good. We saw a huge step from him. He was great at pushing the ball down the field. He had 3 big-time throws. He was great against the blitz. And he had, put up a lot of points as a result. But kind of the counterpoint to that is that the defense, which is what has been Georgia's calling card for what feels like forever, at least as it has under Kirby Smart, has been the defense. And when a good but not great offense can put up 41 points against you, or there and thereabouts, I kind of it kind of comes out in the wash for me. It's kind of like it's neither here nor there, but it levels itself out.
I think that's fair. Don, where did you have Penn State again?
I had Penn State at 3. Let's talk about Penn State then.
Because I am a Penn State fan, I must admit, despite my Sooners jersey. And I really like this team. Drew Allen's been slightly disappointing.
Yeah,
and they've genuinely played nobody.
Yeah.
And when I say nobody, I mean Villanova, like complete cupcakes. I wouldn't be surprised if these teams are getting paid £2 million just to come over and lose. But they're getting tested, I think, in 2 weeks' time against Oregon.
Yeah.
Which would be a massive game, especially for conference implications, which we know is so important for the college football playoff. But Don, why do you have them at 3?
So I have them at 3. I don't really know how I feel about Penn State because of how I feel about Drew Allen. I think they're a very strong overall team. You know, they brought in the transfers to replace Tyler Warren. They've got the wide receivers now as part of the passing attack. And they clearly are a team which, almost like Notre Dame last year, that is kind of just like a very good overall team. No real weaknesses, no real strengths. But that's kind of the problem with them is that, like, I think that when it comes to the playoffs, eventually you need your strengths to shine. You need your quarterbacks or your running backs or your offensive line or your defensive line or your secondary to step up and make plays. And I think that Allen's a good quarterback, but I'm always left wanting more with him. And that's still the case now. And they've played against, you know, fairly weaker opponents. And I think the game still looks kind of hard for him, if I'm being honest with you, with how I'm watching it. And I can't exactly explain why, but there's something it's like an uncanny valley with Allen. Like, you're looking at it and things just like aren't quite right with him. So they're a strong team, but I'm just not hugely sold on the quarterback, which is why they're kind of in this, I guess, almost like no man's land in this thing. It's a hard group of teams to separate.
Same with me. That's why I have them at 5. But Dom, you have LSU at 5?
I have LSU at 5. You got LSU at 2.
I think they've got 2 really good wins. I think their win against Clemson, again, similar to Notre Dame, they had 2 tough losses, but I think that's still a really good win. And I also think that Florida win is good. I know DJ Lagway played bad, but you have to bear in mind that Florida's schedule is genuinely death row. Even their USF loss was against a ranked team. I think they've got 11 games and 9 of them against ranked opponents. So I think Florida are going to not have a great record this year, but despite that, they are still going to be a very good team.
I'm really not sold. I'm really not sold on LSU. I actually think that was a bad win for LSU. There's such thing as a good loss. I think that was a bad win. I think to only put up 20 points when the quarterback has turned the ball over 5 times through 5 interceptions, you've underperformed there, I think. And it felt like a Pyrrhic victory for LSU. So much so that in the presser afterwards, Brian Kelly acted like the coach that had lost the game. He was shouting at the reporters for asking what's wrong with the offense. And he acted like that because he knows that something is wrong with the offense. Always throughout LSU's kind of tenure under Brian Kelly, the defense has been terrible, but the offense has been great because they didn't win anything when they had Jaden Daniels and Brian Thomas Jr. as their wide receivers.
And Malik Neighbors.
And Malik Neighbors, because the defense was so terrible. I think Brian Kelly has done some Faustian bargain, a deal with the devil. I think he has said, give me anything for a good defense. And the devil went, okay, say no more. And the cost of a good defense, which he now has, is giving up his previously good offense. Garrett Nussmeier was meant to be the QB1 when Arch Manning kind of fell by the wayside and Clay Klubnik fell by the wayside. He did not look like that at all in this game. His decision-making wasn't great. I think that the win, the current record, for LSU being 3-0 is kind of papering over the cracks. I feel a bit like the Eagles in the NFL to me. I think that there are things that are wrong inherently. And I think that, yes, while they haven't been exposed yet, they're at risk of being exposed. So for me, that's why they're 5. And I just think that I have more questions than answers now about LSU this late into the season. And they might answer them for me, absolutely. They've got some really tough games coming up, and I'm looking forward to seeing how they're playing. But I definitely am lower slightly on LSU than you and most people are. So I've got Oregon at 4. Remind me where you have Oregon.
I have them at 6.
Okay, so let's talk about that. I think Oregon personally are a sleeping giant.
Okay, why do you think that? I tend to agree, but I have them similarly as Penn State. I think they're a good team, but haven't played any serious competition yet.
Yeah, they've not, which is why I've described them as a sleeping giant. They've only played Montana State, Oklahoma State, and Northwestern, and they're not being spoken about. And I understand why, but I think this team is looking actually really, really good against those lesser opponents, yes, but they're still looking really, really good. I think the Dante Moore, the quarterback, is looking like the real deal. Yes, again, remains to be properly tested, but nevertheless does look good. Kenyon Sadiq is the new tight end one in this draft. I think the whole team under Dan Lanning always plays really well, always kind of plays greater than the sum of their parts. And I think the parts are actually pretty good this year as well, for what it's worth. They've got Penn State in 2 weeks, which is what you were talking about earlier, and I think that is going to be their breakout party.
And so, Dom, what do you think about Miami?
I think, well, Miami are 2 for me, so I'm high on Miami. I think they are the best or the most well-rounded team after Ohio State at 1. They've got a really good offensive line. They've got a good quarterback in Carson Beck. It's like that meme, Carson Beck QB1 always has been. Like it's kind of come full circle here. He's got nice weapons to throw to, and they have an unblockable defensive talent in Ruben Bain, Hurricane Bain, who can wreck any game plan on the other offense. I'm really high on Miami. They've beaten Notre Dame. They've beaten USF, who are 2 good teams. Yes, of course. Notre Dame aren't ranked, and rightly so, but they are a good team. They will finish the season most likely with double-digit wins. USF have also upset good teams in their own right. It's almost a shame they're not ranked on ours or on anyone else's. And they've got FSU coming up, which I think they will win that game. I think Miami will be the ACC champions and will do it undefeated.
Carson Beck is currently my Heisman favorite. Ooh. I think he's been playing absolutely out of his skin. The highest paid player in all of college sports based on NIL. Has been absolutely balling, and I think their record really stands up for itself. So yeah, I think having them at 2, it's not ridiculous to say that at all.
And then 1, Ohio State are unilateral. Have I used that word right? Are universal. Sure. Let's say are universal number 1 team. They're also 1 in the AP poll. Why are they 1?
Julian Sayin and that Ohio State offense is absolutely balling out. I think they look absolutely electric. Of course, they got Jeremiah Smith, who people are talking about being the first overall pick. They are easily the best team in college football. They dismissed Texas with Arch Manning throwing, was it 3 interceptions, Dom?
Felt like it. It was definitely in or around there.
And they completely destroyed the already favourites to win the college football playoff. They're in a Big Ten that is always difficult. But I don't see anyone else ousting our universal number 1 overall team.
They're the best team in the nation with a bullet, I think. They started the year with the only question mark on the team was Julian Sayin at quarterback. He looks good, more than competent. I would say genuinely like a good quarterback. And they've got an unreal wide receiver core. Like you said, Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate. I think, though, the defense also deserves its flowers. They've got Matt Patricia there as the defense coordinator. That defense is playing at an NFL level. That's why Arch Manning was an absolute fit in that game. The blitzes he was sending were genuine that stuff you see with the Brian Flores uses on Sundays for the Vikings. Like, it's that level. Arvell Reese could be linebacker 1 off the board. Caleb Downs looks like a generational defensive talent. It's such a good team. I don't know where the weaknesses are. They are, as I said, the clear number 1 team in the nation. So you can see on the screen now mine and New's top 25 through 4 weeks of the college football season. Of course, this is subject to change. If you're watching this later, I'm sure it will have done. But remember, if you've enjoyed the video, make sure you like and subscribe. Make sure you leave a comment. All of those things are a free and easy way to help out the channel and help push this content out to more NFL and college football fans who want to enjoy it. I've been your host, Dom Corbs. That's been my co-host, Nick Corbs. We'll see you on the next video.
See ya.